my god, I get to put my jacket on. Is it gonna be too loud? As long as I don't move my arms that much, it'll be fine. TikTok is one of the biggest social media platforms, and it includes a variety, an endless feed of seemingly perfect young girls and women. Many accounts are dedicated entirely to giving advice on how to prevent aging and wrinkles. These influencers give girls a wide range of advice, from simply wearing more sunscreen to massaging their faces multiple times each day to prevent wrinkles. Still, many people have been resenting this anti-aging push, suggesting that aging is completely natural and shouldn't diminish anyone's value. Coralie Farge's The Substance is a body horror film that came out earlier this year, and it heavily revolves around the ways that society decides that women are aging out of their prime. The film is incredibly powerful and well done, and it brilliantly uses the horror genre to show how brutal this mindset is for, women in Hollywood as well as women everywhere. The film stars Demi and Margaret Qualley, and tells the story of Demi, aka Elizabeth Sparkle, being pushed out of fame because of her age, and then seeking out the substance to create a younger, better version of herself.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself?
The film received a lot of interest, and many people, including myself, absolutely adored it. Online, TikTok editors did what they do best and began making genuinely fun edits of the movie and its characters. Yet, while watching these, many people, including myself, noticed an issue. They were only featuring Margaret Qualley, and were completely missing the point of the movie. These edits were popular when the movie first came out, and a couple of months ago, but the substance edits have now reached a new level of ignorance. My For You page has been showing me edits of various celebrity pairings with the substance's ad monologue playing over it.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? Younger. More beautiful.
These edits are honestly just weird. They imply that they think one celebrity is younger than the other, the better version of the first, and there's something about it that's just so gross. I've seen edits of people who are alive and of people who are dead, and they all feel absolutely disgusting. Anytime I come across one, all I can think about is either woman having to watch or hear about that video themselves, and how much that would suck. Like, if I ever saw an edit of me and some younger person who's hotter than me, and the people who made the video and everybody in the comments is like, but they're literally the better version of you, wait, like, they're the hotter and younger one. And then they had comments that people didn't see it and that I'm actually not pretty enough to be that version of someone. I would simply never be seen again. So today we are going to explore why these edits exist and why they need to stop, starting with some historical context. I'm B, and this is a Butterfly Media Deep Fly, not a deep dive. Everyone on Earth experiences aging, or at least the lucky ones do. Over the course of time, age has represented many things, from time periods to one's personal account of their own existence. In Ian Hacking's article, Madness, Biological or Constructed, he notes that age can be viewed as a construct because it was entirely created by humanity. Though the term age itself has a clear meaning, its youth within its construct has had a prolonged effect on society, but especially on women. Fears of aging often date back to Victorian-era stories and writings, with novels such as Charlotte Bronte's Villette, George Eliot's Felix Holt, and H.R. Haggard's She, being extremely popular amongst young Victorian women. Still, these fears were often rooted in the general fear of death itself because of the shorter lifespans at the time, but they quickly expanded into fears of simply being old. Modern-day classic fairy tales date back to the Victorian era's Grimm Brothers fairy tales. Little Snow White is a classic yet twisted telling, but everybody knows the story. Snow White is a young girl admired for her beauty and was already more beautiful than the evil queen, an old and ugly character. Seeking vengeance because of Snow White's youth and beauty, the queen attempts to murder Snow White on many accounts. Each time she disguises herself as an old woman, an old hag, blatantly suggesting the story's theme of lost beauty through aging. The story is not incredibly complex, but it immediately introduces the idea that beauty and age go hand in hand to young girls. Walt Disney would further add to this stigma in the future with his animated version of the tale, maintaining the fear of aging in young girls for decades. Hollywood has kept producing films that encourage youth for years, and Snow White is even getting its own, albeit controversial, live-action remake in a few months. Also, hot take, I haven't researched that much into it, but why are we canceling Rachel Zegler for saying that Snow White is outdated? Because it is. Anti-aging is obviously present in the media itself, but it's especially prominent in the industry as well. In a report from Andrew Hansen and Robert Fleck on the history of aging in Hollywood, they note that the average ages for female actors has remained significantly lower than men for nearly a century. They write that the average ages in 1920 for male actors was 35, and female was 26. In 2011, they report that the average age for men was 42, while the average for women was 35. Today, the internet has certainly been harmful to women's perceptions of themselves, especially thanks to social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr. These were some of the biggest sources of insecurities and self-loathing in general, but especially for women. These platforms give anyone the ability to post content, yet people who trended were usually people who fit the best beauty standards. So, scrolling through thousands of filtered images and videos of the most conventionally attractive people on the planet was bound to be detrimental to everyone's health. Adam England writes, quote, "As a result, it's easy to see the links between emergence of social media and the rise in people of all ages getting cosmetic surgeries," end quote. Just before and at the beginning of the modern 21st century, plastic surgery was popularized. Many people, especially celebrities, began getting cosmetic surgeries to alter their appearance, oftentimes with the goal of making themselves look younger. Rhinopectomies, commonly known as facelifts, are among the most well-known plastic surgeries with this goal. The surgery tightens the skin around the face, getting rid of excess skin and wrinkles. Oh god, no wrinkles, are you kidding? Such surgeries are popular within the entertainment industry, but it is important to address that young women who get them done are not necessarily intending to teach young girls and fans that youth is equivalent to beauty. YouTuber Naomi Cannibal mentions in her incredible video essay, which will be linked in the description, that these women have the surgeries done because many of the women in the entertainment industry essentially lose value once they surpass 30 years old. This is a key theme in The Substance, and it is integral to its message. In order to analyze The Substance, I'm going to have to get into a bit of spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen it, this is your official warning to stop watching this, and go watch the movie, or simply just skip to the next section if you're interested in the edits, or just stay and get spoiled. If you want to watch it, it will be available on Mubi. So, The Substance follows Demi Moore as actress Elizabeth Sparkle. Elizabeth is more of an ex-actress, as the first scene depicts her Hollywood star being placed on the boulevard, and then growing increasingly irrelevant over time. People begin to barely remember her name, even though she's won an Oscar, and she just kind of becomes that one girl that was in that one thing. She's fired from her job, which is hosting an 80s style exercise show, for being too old. She gets into a car crash and stumbles upon The Substance after being referred to it by a sexy twink nurse. He gives her this flash drive and she plays the clip attached to it and gets a very cryptic ad for The Substance. The husky, deep voice tells her that she will split into 2 versions of herself and will get to spend a week as each, switching back to the other body every 7 days. She throws it in the trash at first, and then she digs it out after seeing a casting call for her exact job that specifically asks for a younger replacement. I believe the casting call says you have to be 18 to 30 years old, which just so happens to be the age that many women in Hollywood expire. She decides to take The Substance, which gets shipped to a strange location. So she puts on her iconic yellow coat and picks it up. She injects herself with it, and Margaret Qualley as Sue pops out of her back. That is what happens. I'm not kidding. I told you it was body horror. I told you. Over and over again, The Substance's marketing tells Elizabeth to remember that you are one and to respect the balance between the 2 bodies. Sue then gets the part at Elizabeth's old job and begins absolutely living it up. She quickly begins disrespecting the balance by trying to take more time from Elizabeth to lengthen her younger body's days. Part of The Substance requires that the second body stabilizes itself every day with spinal fluid from the first, but Elizabeth learns the hard way that taking too much stabilizer fluid as Sue manipulates her body as Elizabeth, making it appear shriveled and old. And she honestly starts bearing some resemblance to a special someone. It starts with a finger and then progresses as Sue continues disrespecting the balance. I mean, it's such a basic instruction. I don't know why she's struggling so hard. Sue pushes the limits farther and farther, eventually taking up so much time from Elizabeth that she becomes completely unrecognizable, comparable to the evil queen in Snow White. The film ends in a large mess of blood sprayed over a live audience, but I'm not gonna go into all of those details because you should really just check it out yourself. So thematically, The Substance is obviously a stark commentary on what it's like to age as a woman in Hollywood and how many procedures and drugs you're suggested to take to stay young. The whole concept revolves around a woman being pushed so hard to be younger that she continuously overextends herself just to look better, sacrificing herself so that she can become likable again in an industry she's known her whole life. Some of the most heartbreaking moments occur during Elizabeth's scenes, starkly contrasting the oversaturated, feminine, sexual nature of Sue's. While Sue gets any man she wants, Elizabeth is absolutely terrified to go get a drink with a kind man who she went to high school with. My favorite scene in the movie is her getting ready for this date because it's something all women have gone through. As she gets ready, the film shows her watching the time and debating between different outfits. Every time she goes to leave, she's greeted by a huge billboard of Sue's face right outside her apartment that makes her feel terrible. She continuously tries to just change little things. It's that feeling of knowing that something's wrong with you and trying 10,000 different things and feeling like you look terrible in all of them. She tries different lipstick, more blush, gloves, a shawl, a coat, anything she can think of to change or hide what she hates. It's heartbreaking, and she eventually gives up on going out altogether. Scenes like this are incredibly impactful because they use what we've all felt to make such a prominent point in this movie. No matter how hard you try, you're faced with options that are better than yourself, and you start to hate yourself endlessly because of them. While this emotion doesn't necessarily always pertain to age, the substance is clearly about it. I think that for me, this is a film that's only going to resonate more each year. Women are constantly told not to age and are instructed to do everything we can do to prevent it because it determines our whole worth. All of the substance's messages are extremely clear, which makes the movie hit so much harder for me. It feels so incredibly validating. Body horror is a perfect outlet for it too, because it's so good at representing the emotional chaos and distress that hating your own body can produce. Yet, since leaving the theater, I've seen progressively worse TikToks that completely miss the point of the movie and in some cases ruin it. Wait, do you mean to tell me that people on the internet didn't care about the meaning at all and were just looking at the sexy scenes of Margaret Qualley? Nah, there's no way that ever happens. The edits for the movie actually started out pretty tame and honestly pretty good, pretty entertaining. Like any other movie or show, the edits were largely clips of Margaret Qualley or Demi being hot. Yet, the more I watched, the more I began to realize that nearly all of the edits were of Sue. Elizabeth was only included in a select few, and many of the comments pointed out the edits weren't respecting the balance. While this did annoy me a little bit, I more just found it ironic and didn't really think about it too much. Not enough to make a whole video about. Then, these edits started happening.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself?
And in the meantime, take care of yourself.
Younger. More beautiful.
I keep getting these on my For You page, and I have feelings about them. They frankly scare me, not so much because these conspiracy theory videos may be onto something, but because it is so wild to me that people are so comfortable making these edits about real people. It's frightening. Like, were these people just like, the movie's whole message is about how much pressure women have to stay young, and how the younger people will always be better and prettier. I know, let's make these women hate themselves even more. And then they edited it over a bunch of sparkly templates with a banger song. I sure hope not, because they just have to know what they're doing and what the movie's saying, right? Like, surely these people are posting it online because they think the people look similar and aren't aware of the hurt that they could cause with this, right? I hope they're just ignorant and not malicious, because this content, I'm sure, is really harmful to people. People have been posting combos such as Ariana Grande and Audrey Hepburn, or Sabrina Carpenter and Madonna. There have been so many that it's hard to keep track of, but it's like a car crash I can't stop watching. I find myself watching them and trying to figure out how Ariana or Sabrina or any of the Sues feel about it. They probably feel like it's really hurtful to the other women, but I bet they're also a little hurt that people assume their success is because they're secretly someone else. And I know that most people aren't watching these edits and thinking that they're real, but the comment sections are often full of people who talk about how scary the video is. The comments on the video that made me want to make this video say, quote, "This one is actually scary," end quote, and quote, "Nah, the 'can I have your hair in my next life' went hard," end quote. I'm talking about the video comparing Lily Reinhart and Brittany Murphy.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself?
Can I have your hair in my next life?
Younger. More beautiful. More.
The video just rubs me the wrong way so much. Like, how are you sitting there editing the clips of these two women, one of which is no longer alive, and saying that the other is the younger, more beautiful version? It's disgusting. Even if they do look alike, one, that's because the editor is picking all of the footage and pictures of them that look alike, and two, maybe it's because the industry pushes the exact same beauty standards on every woman. Shocking. Lily Reinhart also commented on the video saying, quote, "Crazy to be scrolling and suddenly see this," end quote. Like, I bet it is confusing. Especially because so many of the women in these videos are probably feeling scared because they're naturally nearing the ages that are being shunned in their industries. Luckily, I do have some faith in humanity though, because there are still plenty of comments discussing how the edits completely missed the point of the movie. It just worries me that these posts are getting so much attention, because what does that say about the future of women in Hollywood or the future of women in general? If we want anti-aging propaganda to stop, we need to be making conscious efforts to get rid of anti-aging language, behaviors, and thoughts in our day-to-day lives. Coralie Farja made an entire movie dedicated to examining and threatening these standards. So we need to take that as inspiration to no longer focus on how captivating youth is, but to instead focus on how that very idea diminishes who we currently are. Who we currently are is beautiful, and we need to remember that reversing the clock won't make any of us less beautiful. It's important for people and women in general to work to resist giving in to these norms and standards to the best of our abilities. With resistance comes power, and that power is enough for women to prove that age is not just a number, but it is a beautiful and natural process that everyone experiences. Thank you so much for watching this whole video and listening to me basically geek out and rant about The Substance for 25 minutes. The Substance truly is a great film, and there's a lot there in terms of color analysis, so please go watch and support it if you can. If you're looking for ways to learn about what happens in the movie without having to watch it, I've linked a couple of podcast episodes from Dead Meat and Too Scary Didn't Watch, which are two of my favorite shows that do a great job going over all the details. Links to the studies and articles I discussed in the history segment will also be in the description, so check those out too. Subscribe and like this video if you want to see more content like this, and leave a comment down below on what content you want to see next. Thank you again for tuning in to this Butterfly Media Deep Fly. I'm Bee, and I'll see you next time.
And in the meantime, take care of yourself.